Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy Tuesday! Woo! On the road here in Orlando. So I'm just getting ready to go to the convention that's nearby. Today I wanted to talk about something that came up for me as I was thinking and, meditating this morning. And it's come up for me a lot, and it's something I've seen a lot. Hey Jeremy, how's it going? And it's about what do we write about? What do we teach? I have seen this happen so many times where people are teaching or writing about things that they've just studied, but they haven't really lived. So there's so many books out there where people go and they learn something really interesting. They take a course, they take a class, they read a few books, and they're like, wow, I've got lots of thoughts of stuff I want to say about this. Hey, Anderson. And so they say, I'm going to write a book about this. I actually met someone at a party recently who was talking about this. He'd taken a couple courses on men and women and relationships and sort of, what's male energy and what's feminine energy. And he was all gung fired up and he's like, whoa, I'm going to write a book. In fact, I'm going to write a series of 3 books and I'm going to talk about it for the men. I'm going to talk about it for the woman and then talk about creating a great relationship together. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and of course he's like flirting with me because and he asked me out later, but at the same point I'm sitting there going, huh. So here you are, you have taken a few classes, and now you want to write books and teach other people. Do you have a relationship? Have you ever had a good relationship? I mean, why would you write about male and female and men and women relationships based on some class that you took and, based on some ideas that you have? And they might be great ideas, but until you go and live them, you have no idea what you're talking about, frankly. So my point to like, and then I let him read my book, and he came back to me with all of this stuff that had nothing to do with like men and women. Like it was just so far off base as far as men and women and energy and relationships, and I could see based on his comments on my book that he had a lot of hurt. He had some deep issues. He had maybe some trauma around relationships with women, and this is probably why he wasn't in a relationship with women. So he had taken this class and he felt like, wow, now I've taken this class and I've got it all figured out. Now I'm going to figure out how men and women should be in relationship and relate and act together. And so now I'm going to write books on it, right? I was like, maybe a little premature. Okay. So what do we write books on? What should we write books about? Write books about things you really know, something you've lived, something you truly know, right? Not something you have not only studied, but you've also practiced. That's the kind of books, that's the kind of teachers that we need. People who say, okay, not only have I read this, not only have I studied this subject, I've gone into depth in it, and now I have also practiced it, I have lived it, I have worked with other people on it, I have seen results. I've gotten results for myself, and hopefully before you start like writing books about it, you've gotten results on it for at least a few other people, right? You want to see that whatever system, whatever technique, whatever tool you have created, that it actually works, right? That it gets results. Before you set yourself up as a teacher and begin trying to teach other people, it might be good, it might all sound good. What a lot of people do, and this is an interesting thing I've seen, they take classes, they do some coaching course or something like that, and then they try to take all the different things that they have learned and create a whole new way of talking about it, right? It's not new, it's really the same old thing, but they're writing their book and they're very happy and proud about the fact that they've taken what they learned in this course that somebody else is teaching, and it was someone else that created the method, but they haven't really used it in their own life. And I look at them and I'm like, but you haven't used it. You haven't fixed you yet. You're not different yet. So before you start teaching people, make sure you're looking at yourself and saying, did I fix me yet? Did this work for me? Have I really applied it and did it work? And then did I apply it with other people and did it work for them? Like you got to test. You got to test it out and see if there's a real result first. But when you're talking about something personal, something that you have learned, something you've experienced, then you really can speak truth from the heart because this is your experience. This is something you've done. This is something you know. They used to tell writers, write what you know, right? write about your life, write about your personal experiences. Even fiction writers tell them to set it in a setting that you truly know deeply. Like if you grew up in the deep South, you set your fiction novel there because it comes alive, because that is what you know, right? You can be clear, you can be accurate. Don't just write about some cool concept that you learned and now you think, oh, now I've got all these cool ideas. Great, you got cool ideas, write them down, take notes, and then put them into practice first. Live them. So, like for this guy who wanted to write a series of 3 books on men and women and relationships after taking a couple classes on men and women and male feminine energy, I'm like, maybe you need to go live it first. Maybe you need to go get a relationship first, make that relationship work based on what you want to write about, and then teach us how to do it, right? Don't just be like, woohoo, I learned all this, now I'm going to tell you what to do. So I wanted to make that clear, because oftentimes I come on and I talk about things that I am learning, right? And that's very different than talking about something that I know. So when I write a book, when I write something, I write from what I know. I write from what I've experienced. When I put it into a book, right, when I put it into my first book, I Own Me, those are my experiences. Those were stuff that I lived. And the solutions that I put in there, the healing techniques, that was stuff I lived. That was stuff I used on myself. I used it on other people too, right? And I saw it used on many people, and I saw it worked. So I was like, okay, this I will put in the book because I know it works, because I have used it and it's worked multiple times for me and it's worked for other people. See, that's a difference. So sometimes I have fun. I study stuff. I might have opinions on things. I learn things. I try to pull in different knowledge, and I'm like, hey, I'm learning this, I'm studying this. And I might have ideas about stuff that I might talk about to you. But I'm not going to sit there and say, this is what I'm teaching, unless I really know it's true, right? So the framework, those principles, those I know are true. Those are foundational principles. If we work against those principles, we see all of the crime and horror and abuse of institutions and governments and religions. We see all of that happening in our lives, and I have also lived those experiences, right? I've lived them and I still live them, and many of us live them today. So that's something we can know, right? If there's something I know, then that's what I say, okay, I'm going to teach this. I'm going to write about this because this is something I know. If it is something I'm still learning, I might speak to you about it and say, hey, let's have a discussion about this. Let's open this up. This is something I experienced. This is something I think, but I'm not going to say I know. I'm not going to say this is what I'm writing. This is what I'm teaching. You understand? So there's a big difference there to me. And there should be a big difference before we just start writing and putting out books and putting out knowledge. We should really check ourselves and say, is this something that I have truly lived, that I have seen the long-term effect from, that I actually know it gets results, that I've used this, right? When someone says I've used this on, hundreds of people, I've coached thousands of people, and these techniques really work, then I'm like, okay, good, great, right? Tell us those techniques, those ones that you use, because that's what I want to hear, right? They work, they got results. It's not just, ideas about what I think is going to work because it sounds really good and cool. See? So just be aware of that, I think, and watch for people who are teaching. I see so many people, especially in the coaching industry, so many people go into it and they take some coaching classes and they coach a few people, and then they're like, woohoo, now I'm an expert and I'm going to write all about it, right? But first, really practice. You have to have a practice. Do the practice, right? If I see someone trying to teach me nutrition and they're unhealthy, or they're trying to coach me at the gym and they're overweight and not fit, then why should I listen to them? They are not practicing. They're not practicing what they are teaching. They may have the knowledge, but can I say they've actually practiced it? Can I say that it's working for them? See? So look for the people for whom it is working. You want to learn something? You want to learn to be wealthy? Look at people who are actually wealthy, not people who have a few $100s in the bank, right? And they're trying to teach you a course on how to be wealthy. If you're looking for people who have overcome, who are happy, who are strong, look for those people. Listen to what they say. not the people that are still suffering, right? And who might have lots of ideas, but they're still in that place of suffering and healing. Heal first and then reach out to help other people. You know what they say in the airplane, right? They say put on your own mask first before helping others. And that's the key. We got to put on our own mask first. We got to work on ourselves first, heal first before we go out there trying to share what we think we know or what we do know, depending on if we've used it and gotten results, right, with other people. So, hey, Heidi, how are you? So that's just something I wanted to share with you today, just something to be aware of as you because there's so many teachers, there's so many coaches, there's so many books being written, right? Like really look for that, identify that. And sometimes it can be hard to see without maybe meeting the person or really speaking to the person or connecting to the person in some way. Like oftentimes I would go to these conferences of these, spiritual teachers and stuff, like very famous ones, and I'd look in their eyes and I'd watch them as they go about their stuff. And I'm like, boy, this person's really unhappy. I can see it. They're not happy. They're not like full of light and love and laughter and joy. And yet, what they're teaching is how to be that way. So I'm saying there's a disconnect here. There's something that's off here. If they aren't really living that and experiencing it, then I'm less interested in listening to what they have to say about it. See? So, anyway, that's just what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you all have an awesome day. And if you're thinking about writing a book, don't write it based on, something somebody else has taught you. Write it based on your experiences, what's coming from within you. And it may take you some time. I mean, you might not be ready to write that book. Some people come to me and they ask me, and they're like, I want to write a book, but do you think I should write a book? And I'm like, well, write the book when you're ready. There's books that I wanted to write. I wanted to write my memoir for more than 10 years before I actually wrote it because I wasn't ready to write it. You see? There's other books that I knew I wasn't ready to write it. I hadn't come full circle yet. I hadn't learned, I hadn't healed, I hadn't done the work that needed to be done to write the book. And when I was ready to write the book, I wrote it. It all came together in that time and in that moment, right? And when you're really ready, it will be pulled out of you almost, right? So if you know, like, wow, this is something I really know and I've got to share it with people, then yeah, sit down and write it. But make sure that you're not just writing it just to check off a cool box or check off and be like, oh, I did it, or oh, I took this course about writing books and now I'm going to write a book, right? And I'm going to try to make up any old thing to put in that book. There's so much knowledge out there. Why add to it unless you really have something important to add? And you do have something very important to add. And whatever that is, whatever your key important thing, your key gift that you can share with the world, that's something that's unique to you. It's not just parroting what all these other people say. That is something that is from you, from your heart, from your lived experiences, from your true knowledge, from work you've really done. That's where that comes from. So go there, look there. You want to write a TEDx talk, you want to write a book, go there. Go to who you truly are. What have you been the key experiences in your life? What's gotten real results for you? And if you haven't really had that yet, then go out and get it, right? Go out and get it. Go do something, try something, get results, get it first, and then then write the book about it, okay? All right. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye. I just figured out